Hi, we're here with McKeever Custom Choppers. This is Mike, and we're just going to ask him some questions about the shop, the bikes, and him. How did this all start?
This all started, actually I'm going to take it back to the actual moment it started. A little story I have to tell. I was raised by my aunt who worked at a drugstore, which they don't see anymore. They had soda fountains and they had a big magazine rack. She knew I was interested in cars, hot rods, because my dad was into that, who died when I was young, 2 years old. But she must have noticed something about me liking cars like my father and started bringing me home car magazines to read for free. I would just have to turn them back in on damage the next day so she could put them back on the rack. As luck would have it, she mispicked the magazine one day off the rack. It was the first issue of Easy Riders, probably 1970. And she wasn't aware she gave it to me. And above noticing girls in it, which I'd never seen in a car magazine, I was bitten by the motorcycle bug big time. At that very moment, everything changed from cars to motorcycles, and I was 13 years old at the time. And within about a week after getting that magazine, my bicycle was a chopper at the cost of my swing set. The teeter-totter bars became the front end. So I'd have to say my aunt was the magical factor. One simple mistake with the magazine, instead of a hot rod magazine, was a motorcycle magazine. Here I am. So thank you, Aunt June. I know you're passed away. If you're listening to this, it's all your fault. And that's how I started, Sonny. It's actually a very cool story. It could have gone any other direction had she not picked the wrong magazine.
That's really cool.
It is. I always remember that moment as that's the transition, opening up #1 issue of Easy Riders magazine, the first issue they ever put out.
So how long have you been building and working on Harleys?
Since I'm 17, at 17 I finally got to work at 16, got my first income tax check at 17 years old, enough to buy a panhead chopper. So I was the 17-year-old kid with a panhead chopper who didn't know the first thing about it except I loved them. And I had a motorcycle before I had a car, actually. And of course, the very next day the panhead wouldn't start. I was out of money. I spent every penny I had to buy it. So the only way to ride it was to fix it. And that's how I learned how to do this. By the need to ride my own motorcycle, and I couldn't afford to pay anyone to fix it. So I learned about it, what made it tick. And the process has been going on for a long time, but that's really what started it. Buying a motorcycle and having no money left for anybody to repair it when it wouldn't work. And here I am again from that today. Everything's a transition to today. And I've been in it since 17 years old.
So who is your inspiration?
I would have to say my father is. I don't really recall knowing him, but a lot of people can tell you this, I'm sure, but when you get a feeling in your blood that you're meant to do something, it has to be coming from somewhere. I truly believe that my talents are genetic, passed on from my father. He was more into cars, I'm into bikes. But again, the mechanical abilities, the ability to understand mechanics, to apply it, love to do it, I would have to say yes, genetic from my father. And I feel that every day of my life when I do this, that I am born to do this and nothing else but this. And this is what I do. And I gotta say, thanks to my dad for that, because I do believe it is genetic. It's definitely running through my veins. I feel it every day of my life here. And that's why you love what you do. When you can just feel it in your whole body, going through you. I love what I do.
Sounds amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your story and what put you here, where you are today?
Basically, like any other guy, I tried several different ways to make a living, things that interested me. I got into body work for some years because, again, I still do love cars, as well as motorcycles. Every biker probably loves a street rod and a Camaro and a Corvette, whatever. So I really did hang with cars a lot. I got into body work and paint, which kept me with cars, found that interesting. Did that for a number of years in body shops, had my own little body shop for a while, lost the building due to selling the property, so it was short-lived for less than a year. And ultimately, some years later, found myself in a job with a fellow who owned a business restoring Rolls Royces, Bentleys, Jaguars, Mercedes, very high-end cars, complete restorations. Did that for 2 years with Bill. Again, I'm skipping a lot of my life here, but that job, the last job I had before I began this shop, taught me a very valuable tool in here. Working with the Rolls Royces requires a ton of patience. And I very much carry that through every single day I'm working on these bikes. Nothing's a rush. It needs to be done right. You need to be patient. You need to think it out. It's a very important tool. It's the most important tool I have, and it's not in my toolbox, is my patience to be able to do this kind of work. It really, I truly believe if you don't have patience, this is not the kind of thing you should be doing, because it's very sensitive work sometimes. The bikes mean everything to people. They count on me to be patient, get that bike fixed the right way and out the door running. So it's a huge tool to me, is the fact that I truly enjoy what I do, to the point where I can be very patient at it to do it right. So I think it's a big high point of what I do here, and obviously loving what I do on top of it. But patience is a virtue, they say, and in the shop it truly is. So one key element that I can come up with off the top of my head.
So tell me about the bike you're sitting on today.
The bike I'm sitting on today is my bike, and she's a she. Her name is Angela. Bought it in 2002, brand new. I never had a brand new Harley. And you guys bring me a lot of fat boys, and every shop's probably got its favorite bike. Well, I fell in love with all your fat boys you brought me to work on. I test drive every single bike. I always enjoyed riding a fat boy more than any bike, and gravitated to that when I found some money to buy myself a bike of my own. I've had several bikes of my own that I built, but I found over the years with the shop growth, the amount of work I'm taking in, I really didn't have the time to build myself another bike. But I am a biker at heart. I love to ride. I bought this girl here brand new. She's had quite a treatment done. As you can see, the bike is all flat black. Just a little personalization.
So Mike, what would you say your favorite bike is?
My favorite bike,
Or even engine, motor?
I'm a panhead freak. I've had panheads. I'm very partial to knuckleheads too, but in the core, I am more particular to the panhead than any other motor. I think it's the most beautiful motor they ever made. Makes the coolest custom bikes. I love working with panheads. You'll actually see a few around here in videos. On the Facebook site, you'll see a beautiful 63 that I did a couple of years ago, which is here for service now. My favorite kind of bike would have to be, I gravitate more to the bobber style. I've done a lot of pro street, simple, functional, to the core, rideable motorcycles. But the bobber, I'd say, is what I've been gravitating to in the past few years. And I'm actually kind of glad it's all come back to that. TV took it all up and dropped us without a parachute. And that phase of fat tire Easter egg bikes, I think, is over now. It's coming back to the core of a man being able to build a motorcycle on his own without so many parts just bought out of a catalog. We tend to call them billet barges here. There's a lot of them out there for sale now for a third of what it costs to build them. I look at that as a fad, is really what the big tire bikes were. More money than brains put into them. Just money pits. So a bike that runs every single day perfectly and gets you home, you can go anywhere with it. That's a Harley Davidson. That's a custom bike in my eyes. These bikes are built to run. As pretty as they are built to be driven. They handle well, they're built to run, and they're personalized. Each bike I build has a huge amount of the owner in it, and no two are obviously alike ever. And that is my favorite way to build a bike. I will pull input from the owner. He's involved in the project as much as I am. And that my artistic abilities tend to flow and merge with what artistic abilities they have, which are kind of aware about. And we pull some pretty amazing bikes out of here. I pull ideas out of guys I never knew they had. And that's a gift I seem to have, to be able to work with my customers. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for telling us a bit about yourself. Could you give us some basics about the business? How long have you been in business? What do you have here to offer to everybody that is exclusive to you?
What I have to offer everybody that's exclusive to me is time is on my side, experience is on my side. I'm self-taught. I learn the way you should learn, trial and error, and it's your best teacher. Things you can't learn out of a book are the best ways to learn. And again, it does flow through my blood. I find it very easy to learn these type of things, to build bikes like this. Everybody will eventually reach a point in their life where all their knowledge they've managed to hold and put to use, you're going to reach a peak in your life where you're pretty much in your prime, you're at your best. I feel I've hit that peak a few years ago. I'm living it right now, and I have a lot of time to go yet. And my qualifications, I feel, I can honestly say they are there. I am at the peak of my craft and my profession. I'm very proud of the bikes I do. The people I build them for are very proud of them when they're done. So life is good. I've worked very hard since 17 to be in this position at this moment in front of this camera to say that, yeah, you guys get the best of me now at this point in my life. I have some years to go yet. I won't live forever. I wish I could, but I have reached what I think is the pinnacle of where I wanted to be when I started this business 30 plus years ago. And I'm sitting here today telling you that I'm very happy I am.